You know, there are moments in life, just seconds, where everything you've ever been told about yourself, about your place in the world, just slams into the cold, hard reality of someone else's assumption. For Elias Vance, that moment hit in the glass and steel heart of ether dynamics, a Silicon Valley giant built on impossible dreams and an impossible engine. Elias wasn't just Elias. He was the guy who cleaned the glass towers, the one you stepped around, the ghost pushing the heavy cart late at night. His official title? Technical Facilities Consultant, the reality Janitor. But what nobody in that pristine, sterile building knew, or cared to ask, was that Elias held an associate's in mechanical engineering, and his real education came from the grimy, sacred concrete floor of his grandfather's shop back in old Detroit. The problem itself was monumental, a $2 million AI-guided hyper-engine. The crown jewel of their autonomous fleet had died, dead for 6 weeks, baffling teams of engineers flown in from MIT, Stanford, the whole Ivy League circuit. $50 million in contracts hung on this hunk of metal. It would fire up, run for exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds, then puff, shut down, throwing the same mocking error code. Harmonic resonance disruption. They were chasing software ghosts, but the machine was talking, and nobody was listening. Enter Viviana Cross, the CEO. 38, tailored to intimidate, hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Viviana didn't just command a room, she subjugated it. And in her world, competence wore a certain uniform. And it sure as hell wasn't Elias's gray maintenance jumpsuit. The scene I'm thinking of, it was in the main executive boardroom, where the broken engine sat on the mahogany table like a defeated war god. The smell of burnt circuits and 6 weeks of panic was thick. Elias was just replacing a water pitcher, trying to be the air, the nothing he needed to be to survive. Viviana pacing like a caged panther, her Louboutin heels clicking that sharp, angry rhythm. She locked eyes with him. Maybe we just have too much. Dead weight dragging us down, she said, her voice dripping with calculated disgust, the kind that doesn't need to name names to wound. Several Harvard grads shifted uncomfortably. They couldn't fix the engine, but in their exhaustion, the idea that the janitor was the weak link somehow made twisted sense. Elias, he just kept his hand steady on the pitcher. Invisibility was survival, but late that night, mopping the marble floors, his engineer's mind wouldn't quit. He studied the scattered blueprints. That's when the whisper from Detroit hit him, a simple, agonizing discrepancy. The engine was machined in Germany using metric specifications. The AI, calibrated right here in California using imperial units, a tiny 0.003 of an inch difference, creating an astronomical cascading problem. Then the German investors arrived. Klaus Müller, all Germanic stoicism, representing 100 million. And with him, Dr. Alara Reyes, the legendary former Tesla engineer. A woman who could spot an engineering flaw with surgical precision. This was the moment of truth. The final diagnostic test failed spectacularly. Smoke, fire suppressant, chaos. Everything was soaked, ruined. The MIT guys looking like ghosts. And in the emergency all-hands meeting, with the German delegation seated right in front, Viviana began the corporate sacrifice, announcing immediate cost reduction, starting with non-essential personnel. She was looking right at Elias, her eyes cold, predatory, and that's when he made the mistake that changed everything. He raised his hand. The whole room, 200 heads, swiveled to face the back wall where the maintenance man stood. "Ma'am," Elias's voice carried, surprisingly clear through the auditorium mic, I think the problem is in the harmonic frequency calibration, not the software integration." Viviana's face went through 3 distinct phases: surprise, then blistering rage, and finally a horrible, calculating opportunity. Why fire him quietly when she could crush him publicly? The boardroom became a coliseum. Viviana, her eyes glittering with malice, stepped away from the podium. Well, our maintenance consultant has an opinion about advanced engineering. "Tell you what, Elias Vance," she said, her voice amplified and venomous. "You fix this $2 million problem that stumped our best and brightest in 2 hours. Right here, right now, in front of our investors." She paused, letting the silence scream. and I'll promote you to senior engineering consultant, 6 figures, stock options. But her smile became a razor blade. When you fail, and you will, security escorts you out permanently. You'll be a legend of spectacular failure across this whole valley. She snapped her fingers. 2 security guards materialized, silent, massive, pure intimidation theater. But then Dr. Reyes, the Tesla legend, stood up. Her voice was quiet, but it had the weight of industrial steel. I will serve as technical witness. This requires neutral oversight. Viviana's flicker of confidence died. This was no longer humiliation. It was a formal, technical evaluation. Elias walked toward the engine, his hands, calloused from trash bags, steady. He didn't rush. He placed his palms flat on the cold metal. He closed his eyes. Listen, boy. This machine's got a heartbeat. You gotta know how to listen. That was his grandfather Samuel, whispering from the grave. The engine roared to life. And where the MIT engineers heard noise, Elias heard a strained conversation. It's fighting itself, Elias said, his eyes still closed. The AI is trying to compensate for mechanical problems that shouldn't exist. He opened his eyes and looked straight at Klaus Muller. Sir, your German precision. It's too good. This crankshaft was machined to 87.63 millimeters. Our AI expects 3.450 inches, which is mathematically the same, yes. But your manufacturing tolerance is 0.001 millimeters. Our American programming assumes tolerance up to 0.127 millimeter. The air in the room sucked out. Elias was talking the language of true engineering, the marriage of design and physical execution. The AI is micro-adjusting for imprecisions that don't actually exist, Elias continued, his voice gaining strength. It's forcing an artificial rhythm. That's why it hits critical resonance at 1437 and shuts down. He walked to a cabinet, bypassing the $50,000 diagnostic gear, and pulled out a simple, hockey puck-sized metal disc with carefully machined perforations. A harmonic dampener. We don't need to rewrite the code or replace the hardware. We need a translator, he explained. This $50 part will bridge the frequency gap. The most elegant solution is always the simplest. He installed it in 12 minutes, his hands working with the effortless grace of decades in the shop. You can't fix a soul with a software update. You have to listen to what it's trying to tell you. The room went silent. Dr. Reyes gave the command, "Start the engine." The key turned, and the engine purred. Not a fight, not a strain. A clean, deep, perfectly synchronized harmony. The red error screens instantly turned green. Temperature, pressure, frequency, perfect. 7.3% efficiency, higher than their theoretical max. The dreaded 1437 mark passed. Then 20 minutes. Then 37 minutes. Klaus Muller's German stoicism finally cracked. Meine Gott, he whispered. Dr. Reyes turned to Elias, her eyes filled with reverence. Your solution was elegant, cost-effective, and brilliant. Your grandfather would be proud. Viviana, standing by the window, was recording her own professional obituary. The live stream comment section was celebrating the garage whisperer, questioning her leadership, not his skill. 2 weeks later, the corporate hammer fell. Viviana was demoted, her power neutered, her salary slashed. The damning evidence of her discriminatory emails was too much to ignore. She was forced into inclusion training taught by none other than Dr. Reyes Elias, junior engineer, 150% raise leading the European program. The German investment jumped 20%, contingent on his leadership. The best part? 3 months later, Viviana, dressed in modest attire, approached him in the cafeteria. Elias, I owe you an apology, she said, her voice stripped of its old venom. And I need guidance. How do I build more inclusive leadership? Elias looked at the former titan of tech, his expression calm. Everyone deserves a chance to grow, Viviana. The question is whether you're ready to listen with the same attention you'd give to a machine that needs repair. Sometimes, the most powerful expertise comes wrapped in the most unexpected package. It doesn't matter who has the fanciest degree. It matters who has the dedication to truly understand the problem. Call to action. This story isn't just about an engine. It's about who gets to hold the tools in our society. Have you ever been or witnessed the Elias? The one with the quiet skill overlooked because of the uniform they wear? Or maybe the Viviana, the one who thought their credentials meant they had all the answers? Drop your take in the comments. Where does the true justice lie? In the demotion or in the lesson? Let's talk about it.